new Telerik Reporting, and what we're going to do is we're going to take one of the existing reports, and we're going to take the new profit report that we made, and we're going to make an alternative, or maybe even a couple alternatives to that report, and we'll see how to work with those. We added a new functionality, a couple new functionalities into the reporting for Telerik that you'll be able to create your own report out of nothing and add it into eManage and be able to run it through eManage. The other feature that we added is you can take our reports and make alternatives, and you can add in custom parameters, so that before you run the report, it'll ask you for certain parameters that you want people to supply before they run it, and it will use those parameters in the report however you like to do this. So we're going to go through examples of each of those things. I'm going to try and move pretty fast because anticipating we're going to do about an hour and a half to 2 hours here. So if you guys have two screens, it's going to be better. This train's going to be better so you can follow along with some of the stuff on your second screen. If not, don't worry about it. You're going to get the recording of the video afterwards. So first thing I want to go through is that you obviously have to have the right to be able to do custom reports. So if you don't have that, I think the right went in maybe a couple. I think it's the Crystal Report Alternatives, right? So I'm just going to log in here really quick, and we'll take a look at that, right? Okay. And I'm just going to go find it here real quick. Okay, so I have that right, and it's called Can Configure Crystal Report Replacements. We're probably not going to change that, even though we're going to eventually phase out Crystal reports. I think we have like 56 reports left. We've done 120 or 30 of them already. So anyway, you need to have this right in order to be able to add reports in, alternatives, and to be able to do the custom reports. Okay, so that right there. And so if you don't have it, you might want to give yourself that right now, and then go to Options, and actually you'll probably have to log out of eManage and log back in because it's part of the main menu. Okay, so the next thing, we're going to go to the Tools menu, and we're going to go to the Custom Reports menu, and we're going to go to Open the Telerik Report Designer. Okay, we pushed this out in an update maybe a couple of weeks ago. Everybody should have the Report Designer on their computer. If you do not have it, if you get an error while doing the Open Telerik Report Designer, if you retake, we temporarily put that Report Designer back in. It bloats the size of the live update, so we don't want to leave it in there. But if you get an error while doing this, go ahead and retake, and then you'll be able to go there. Okay, so our Telerik Report Designer starts pretty much blank. You probably have a blank thing here. I'm actually going to start with a new report here because you guys need to set up your data source. The way we work is that we want to have one data source, and it's going to be named Marketplace. So I'm going to do that right now. It has to be your data source for every report that you do, alternative or a brand new report, has to be the data source name of Marketplace. Okay, so I'm going to do new report here. I'm just going to do a blank report, and I'm just going to call it test 1. Okay, so I'm going to go, I have a blank report here. All I'm doing with this right now is I'm going to set up my data source. That's all I care about right at the moment. So I'm going to click here on the Data tab here, and I'm going to do a new SQL data source. Okay, and it's going to ask me to choose an existing data connection. You won't have one. Okay, so you're going to actually go down. You see I have one called Marketplace. I have a couple others. But you're going to go to specify a new connection string, and you're going to go to Data Provider, and you're going to choose the SQL Client Data Provider, SQL Client Data Provider. Okay. Once you choose that, your build button is going to light up, and you're going to click it. Okay, and you're going to put in your server name or IP address. If you have a different port, if you're using 155.1.1 like we set a lot of you up on, you're going to need that too. So I'm just going to type mine in here. I'm using the name instead of the IP address, and I'm going to put a comma and then my port number. So this can be found also in your profile. Your login screen has the profiles button. If you click there, you'll be able to see exactly what your IP address or name is. This will be the IP address section. This will be the port number section. Okay, and it's a comma in between, not a period. Okay, I'm just going to give it a few seconds for you guys to catch up if you need to. Okay, the next part of this, log on to the server. We're going to log on using SQL Server Authentication. Okay, and you should all have your SA password or the equivalent. Okay, so if you type in SA and then you put in your password, you're also going to want to save the password. If you don't save this password and save your name, your data source name, then you're going to have to do this every time you want to work with a report. So it's better to save my password. You're going to then select or enter a database name. So if you drop this down, you're going to have a list of your databases. Okay, so you'll have a list of all your databases here. Mine's called Marketplace. And then if you want to, if that drop-down has databases in it, you don't have to worry. You're connected. If it doesn't, you might want to test your connection and make sure that you're connecting okay, and it'll say test connection succeeded. Okay. Once you've got a successful test connection, you click OK, and you're going to hit Next. And then it's going to ask you if you want to save the connection string with the following name. You're going to save that with a name of Marketplace with a capital M. This is really, really important. Every report that you do has to use this name as the data source, the connection string. So you're going to want to name that Marketplace with a capital M. That's what we use. That's what the software uses. That's how it runs all of your reports. So this is really, really important. I have to name mine something else, but because I already have it. And then you can hit Next. And we're just going to put in here, select star from corporate division. And if you just type that in, that's going to let us move forward through the process, and it'll save the connection string. So select star from corporate division. Remember, this portion is just so we can save that connection string. Okay, so once you type that in, we're going to hit Next, and then we're going to hit Finish. And then we're just going to save the report. Okay, and that will save your connection string so that then we can go in and use it for the remainder of this training session.
Hey, Philip?
Okay, so, yes?
So when we set that up, do we need to set it up, is that a by user or is that a global function?
It's per computer. It's per computer. Yes. This saves that information locally in the file. So, and you're not going to want a lot of people writing reports or messing around with reports. You're going to want one or two people that are really capable of doing it. Some of the report design is going to be really simple. You want to move things around on the report and put them in different places. That's real simple. But if you want to do, real alternatives with different groupings and different subtotaling and stuff like that, you're going to want, somebody really capable. Okay. Plus, they have to have that right of configuring Crystal Report alternative. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. We don't actually need it. I just wanted to do that so that you guys could have the Marketplace connection so that we can continue on. All the reports you have right now are built using that Marketplace connection. So if you're not connected through that, you're not going to see any of the database fields that we're going to go through. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open a report here, and this is the one that we're going to do an alternative for, and it's going to be the profit report. I know you guys have been wanting a profit report for a long time, so we made it happen. There's actually two files that go with a profit report. There's a profit report details and profit report. Okay, so both of those files go together to make the one report. The profit report details is a sub-report that the main report calls. Okay, and you'll see what that means. So we're going to highlight both of them using the control key, and we're going to open. Okay. So you'll see in my profit report that I have made this a landscape. Okay, so when you guys are going to make new reports, and when we go and do a new report later on this training session, you're going to want to pick a report that looks like what you want to do already, because it's easier to work with a report that's already done and get rid of things than it is to create a brand new one and have to set all these, page widths and whether it's landscape or portrait and the margins and stuff like that. But basically, most of our reports that have gone out have this structure. They have a main report. They'll have a main report, and then they'll have a sub-report, a details, and most of them are called that. So you'll see here, the details have all the columns of data and stuff like that. The main report will have the main structure. It'll have the header and stuff like that. Okay? So what we want to do when we're making alternatives is we want to save both of the files as a new name. Just like we used to do with Crystal, we want to take this, make a copy of it basically under a new name so that we can make an alternative. So I'm going to take this profit report, and I'm going to do a save as, and I'm going to save it as profit report grouped and totaled. Okay? And you'll want to do the same thing with the details. So file, save as, profit report details, grouped and totaled. Okay? So now you'll notice up here in the tabs, we're not actually working with the profit report anymore. We're now working with two brand new separate reports. Okay? Now the only thing we have to worry about in the main report is that now we're using a different sub-report. And remember, a sub-report is this. So on every report, there's going to be at least one sub-report. This one is going to happen to be profit report details grouped and totaled. So we're going to click on the sub-report here. And down on the lower right-hand side, there's a little property grid. And you'll see at the very bottom of that, it's going to say report source. Okay? Report source, if you click on the little three-dot button that's in that report source, it's going to come up, and it's already going to have profit report details in there. We're just going to click in here, and we're going to change it to grouped and totaled. It has to match this name of the file, because that's the one we want it to go to. The parameters on this are going to be exactly the same, so we don't need to mess with that. We're just going to click the OK button here. Okay? So now our sub-report for this is using this details. And remember, they have to be a separate name in order to be an alternative to our original report. So I'm going to go ahead and save this main report, and I don't need it anymore. I'm not going to change anything about this. I want the page number. I want to say profit report. I want it to have the dates. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we're going to work with the details. Okay, so now I'm just looking at the details of this report, and you can see here that these first two sections, if you move your mouse over these, it's going to tell you this is a group header section. It's called Corp Div Group Header. The second section here is Primary Salesperson Group Header. It's also a group header section. Okay? And we're not going to mess with these right now. What I really want to do with the proper report, if you guys have looked at this report so far, what we did here is we actually took your costs, and instead of putting the dollar amounts in, we made percentages. Okay? So you've got your total cost, and you've got what percentage of that total cost is for subcontractors and product. You've got what percentage of that total cost is labor, what percentage is journal cost, and then you've got your profit and GP percent. What I want to do with this alternative is I'm actually going to turn these, I'm going to take these percentages, and I'm going to actually put the dollar amounts in there. Okay? So instead of having to replace these with new fields and, deleting these and replacing them and dragging over a new field, I'm actually just going to rename these or change what these things do. So I'm just going to double-click on this percent sub and product, and I'm going to call it prod sub cost. Okay? And if it doesn't fit, we can always move some other stuff around. So I'm just going to take this, I'm going to make this a little smaller, and I'm going to move these other fields. Yeah, and I'm using the control key, you guys, to click multiple fields. Okay? And then I'm just going to use my arrow key, and I'm going to move those. Using my arrow key on my keyboard, I'm going to move those over so that I have more room for these. Okay, so now I'm going to select these, and I'm going to use my arrow key to move these over. So you guys can hear me pressing my arrow key, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger just by dragging where I get the mouse with the arrows until that fits in there. Okay? And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to move this over and make it a little bigger. And I'm going to call this labor cost. I'm just going to call it labor. We'll just do that. Prod/sub. You guys will know what that is. And then we're going to call this just journal. Okay? So now that we've got our column headers, now we want to start changing these fields over to the dollar amount instead of the percentages that they're using now. So when you want to change the data that's going in a text box, like I said, instead of deleting it and adding a new one, we're simply going to right-click on it. And in that right-click menu, there's a thing, it's got a little function icon here, and it says expression. Expression is what tells the report what data to use for that field. It's also where you can write formulas. Okay? So we're going to right-click here, and we're going to go to expression on the product/sub. Okay? Product/sub. And we're going to go right in here to fields, and we're going to take the product cost. You see how there's product cost percent and product cost. So this is our money, this is our percent. So instead of doing the product cost percent, we're actually going to do product cost. So all you're going to do there is double click it, and you're going to click OK. So you should then see equals fields.product cost, and click OK. Okay. For labor, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to right-click on the labor one in this first section here. We're going to go to expression, and we're going to click on field, and we're going to double-click on our labor cost. Not the labor cost percent. That's one that's already there. We're going to do labor cost. Okay, and we're going to click OK. And we're going to do the same thing with journal cost. Right-click, expression, fields, and journal cost. Okay, double-click, and OK. So now these are all money fields. The thing about these fields, though, is that they were formatted as percentages. Okay, so we want them to now be money. So we're going to highlight the three of them using the control key to click each of them. Okay, we're going to go up here to text box tools, and we're going to change. You see that their percentage right now. We're going to change them to currency. Okay, Really simple. Okay, so our first line there is done, and that is where we have the details of the job number, the order name, all that stuff. So these are done right now. Now, down here, this is a group footer section for the salesperson. So this is going to subtotal for every salesperson these values. Okay? So what we're going to do here is we're going to start with the product subcost, because these are already dollars, and we're going to right-click on the prod sub field that's in the group footer section, and we're going to go to expression. Okay, and you see what this does. This is actually a formula. Okay, and what this means is exec means execute on the salesperson group the sum of the product cost divided by execute by the salesperson group the sum of the total cost. So that's how we get that percentage of the product cost for the salesperson. But we don't need to do that. We're actually not going to do a percentage. We're going to do the sum of the product cost. So we're actually going to get rid of the slash exec salesperson group. Okay? So now this is going to read equals execute on the salesperson group the sum of the product cost. Okay? We don't want it to be a percentage. It's now going to be dollars because the product cost is dollars. The sum of it is going to be dollars. And we're going to click OK. Okay? Then we're going to do the exact same thing with labor. Okay, so we're going to right-click on that. We're going to go to expression. And we are going to delete the slash and everything past it. Okay, because we're not dividing it by the total cost. We're just taking the sum of the labor cost. So I delete that. Now it reads exec on the salesperson group the sum of the labor cost in dollars. Okay, and I'm going to click OK there. And I'm going to right-click on the journal and do the same thing. Expression. I'm going to delete the slash and everything after it. And now it's just the sum of the journal cost on the salesperson group. Okay, so that second section is done. And now we're going to our grand total. Okay, now remember our groups here were primary salesperson and by division. So this grand total is going to be for the division. So if I right-click on our prod slash subcost down in this section, and I go to expression, okay, you'll notice it says exact on the corp div group now. Okay, so it's no longer salesperson, it's by corporate division. So if you have more than one corporate division, then it's going to grand total each corporate division. Okay. So, but we want to just, like with the others, we're just going to delete the wrong number.
That's okay.
We're going to, can you, the person just answered the phone, can you mute your microphone? Please, thank you. Okay, so we're going to delete the slash exec, and now it's just going to be the sum of the product cost for the corporate division. Okay? And we're going to do the same thing with labor. We're going to delete everything past the slash, and now it's the sum of the labor cost for the division. And OK. And we're going to do the same thing with journal. Expression, delete the slash and everything past it, and click OK. Okay, now these were percentages. So now we have to turn these that we just did into money, into currency. So we're going to highlight all of these 6 boxes, and you'll see they're set to percentage right now. We're going to change those to currency. Okay? So I have now taken my report, and I have made it currency instead of the percentages. Now I'm going to go ahead and save this report. Okay? And we're going to add it into eManage as an alternative, okay, to the profit report that already exists. So I'm going to go back to eManage, and I'm going to go to Tools. And the first thing I want to do is I want to add this to my custom reports, because It only exists, this report only exists on your computer right now. Okay, so when you add it to your custom reports, it actually uploads it to the database so everybody else can get that report. Okay, they can download it. So I'm going to go to Add, Remove Custom Reports. And remember that every report that we do is pretty much 2 reports. So we're not just going to add that details, we're going to add the profit report grouped and totaled. Okay, so I'm going to browse here. I'm going to go to my directory where my reports are. And if you're using our new installation program, that's going to be under C, Users, Your Name, App Data, and you guys can see it building up here. Roaming, you'll have a folder called eManage1, and you'll have one under there called Reports. Okay, so that's where your reports are going to be. Okay, if you didn't use our new setup program yet, that's going to be in Program Files, x86. It'll be under Marketplace Software, eManage, one of those eManages that you have, and then Reports. Okay. If you guys know how to make a shortcut in your favorites, it's much easier. If you're going to be doing a lot of reporting, you're going to want to make a link to your reports in your favorites, and you do that just by simply using your right mouse button to drag onto the favorites. Okay, and it'll create a link there for that. Okay, so I'm going to go here. You'll see I have my reports directory sorted by date modified. So my newest reports are always going to be on the top. Really simple to work with. I'm going to add in my profit report grouped and totaled first. Okay, I'm going to give a description. Money.
Does it matter which one you add in first?
No, not really.
Is that important? Okay, just checking.
Money instead of percentages. Okay. Now these descriptions are going to be useful when people are looking at these to make sure that they're choosing the right thing. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to add this, and we'll get into what this section is down here. This is some of the new stuff that we just added. So money instead of percentages. Okay. And I'm going to add. Then I'm going to browse to the other one. That was the base. Okay. So now I'm going to add the details one. So I'm going to double click on that. It's still money instead of percentages. I don't have to change the description. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and add that as well. Okay. So now I have my 2 reports in here. Right now, if somebody did download custom reports on their computer and you've added these, they would get this new report. Okay? And you'll want them to do that. It's when you add these things in, because they will not have that on their computer until they download custom reports. And that is, if you don't know, it's right here on Tools, Custom Reports, download custom reports to my computer. It's also in your live update. So if on your live update right here, you can right-click and you can say download custom reports. Okay, so either place you do that is fine. And that'll take anything that you've added into the custom report and download it to the local computer. Okay, so now that we've added them into our custom report, now we're going to configure them as an alternative, or configure it as an alternative to our profit report. So I'm going to go to Configure Telerik Report Alternative. Okay, and I'm going to use my original report, remember, is my profit report. Okay, so that's all I care about, profit report. Okay, that's the one I'm going to choose because that's the one that eManage runs by default, profit report. So if you were doing, if you're doing an alternative to the quote report, you would choose line item quote as your original report, and then your alternative as your new report. So this is going to be profit report, grouped and totaled. You want the grouped and totaled, not the details. Okay? If you choose the details in here, you're going to be missing your whole header. The whole header section of that report that says profit report is gone. And it doesn't have page numbers. It'll just be the detailed part. So you always want to choose your base one that's not the detail. Okay? And again, you can make it as your default. So if you always want it to be the money that shows and not the percentages, check the default. Okay? And give it a description. So this is money instead of percentages. Okay? You don't have to add the details one in. You're not going to add the details one in as an alternative because only the main report matters when you're doing the alternative. It already has a link to use the details, so that's not a part of this alternative. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and save that. Once I save that, I can then go to my reports menu and I can print my profit report. Okay, it's going to ask me for my beginning and end date, and this is I'm just going to go back to 2007. You guys can choose whatever you want to today, and I'm going to run the report. Since I did an alternative and I made it my default, it's going to come up with my profit report grouped and total as my choice there, and all I'm going to do is hit continue. Okay, so now you see I have my dollar amounts instead of my percentages in that report. I can always run the original, which is the profit report that has the percentages instead of the dollars, when I choose to run that report now. Okay, so it's going to have that and the grand total at the bottom per division. Okay, I'm going to go and open this up. Yes?
It's Bob. So sorry we were a few minutes late signing in. So I'm assuming with this that this is just a process to modifying existing reports. So any given group got reports, and this is just the process we go through if we needed a subset or an alternative report?
That's right. And listen, when you guys, and I've extended this to everybody, if you want to modify one of our existing reports and do stuff like this, call in for support. Okay?
Right.
Yeah, we can absolutely help you guys modify our existing reports pretty easily. You see, if I wasn't doing this training, I could have done this in about probably a minute and a half and finished it.
Okay, so we're starting off with all your default reports, and then it's just ones that over time we find that we might want to modify somewhat.
That's correct. And many people have already modified things. So like our quote report, Stefan, you're there, yeah? Stefan?
Okay, no.
Stefan.
Yeah,
anyway, well,
sorry. Yeah. I had you on mute.
So Stefan has actually done a bunch of stuff with Crystal reports that now he's going to be doing in Telerik, and he's made beautiful proposals out of our quotes. So Stefan, you've done a lot of stuff like with your logo on the side, stuff like that. I'm sure everybody has seen those reports. Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the pictures. Depending on which market we're creating a proposal for, the pictures change. For healthcare, the pictures change on the cover for education and government and so on.
And you guys, we want you to have the reports you want to have. We really do. So if you want to change our report and you need help, you call in for support. That's what we're here for. And it's really actually pretty simple to do. If you learn how to do it on your own as well, you're going to be better off just because you can do whatever you want whenever you want to, and you're not waiting on somebody to help you to do this. But you can see that if actually, yeah.
So the question came is there kind of a user group kind of thing where if someone's created a new report that might be of interest to others, that they post it somewhere? And
we're actually redesigning our website to have forums where people can do exactly that. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Thank you.
Hello?
Yep.
I noticed that you have a field, like the first field is job number and the second field is project order number. If we didn't include field project order number, would it summarize our data under job?
Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. Do I have any dupes in here? You probably do have some dupes, right? That's why you're asking.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and make another alternative, and let's do exactly that. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to hide. We're going to hide some of the stuff. We're going to do another grouping. So we're going to change the salesperson grouping to the job grouping. Okay, so all of your orders would then combine into one line and have that. Okay. I'm sorry?
Do you have that, Philip, or can you leave it by salesperson by job?
You could do another grouping. You can do a third. You can do a third grouping. Sure. Okay. So we can do that. That's not a problem. That's actually a good thing to do. Are there any questions about what we did so far?
Yeah. When you create this report alternative, is it on everybody's computer once they run custom report updates? Do they have the report alternative preset on all their computers, or is that something you manually have to go from computer to computer to do?
No, as long as you did the add remove custom reports and on your computer where you created it, and then they download custom reports, it's on their computer. Okay. These reports, this download custom reports is also on the web portal. So if you make a report alternative, you can also, inside the web portal, download custom reports to your web portal, so they're available there as well. Okay, and we have definite plans to make every report that's in eManage available on the portal as well. So anything that you guys want to do as an alternative can also be done on the web portal as well. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to the report designer, and I'm going to take and open the profit report grouped and totaled. I already have this one open. So I have the details open. I'm going to reopen the grouped and totaled. Okay, and I'm going to save it as a new name. So I'm going to save as, and I'm going to save this as project totals. Profit report, and I'm going to call it project totals. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing with the profit report details. File, save as, and I'm going to call it profit report details, project totals. Okay, it's easier if you keep the same naming convention between the two that they already had, because then it'll be easier to add in your alternative. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Oh, and by the way, Bob, yeah, we have like 130 reports already converted over to Telerik, and we still have like 56 left, but we have probably about 180 some reports altogether that are base reports that you get included. Okay, so now I've got my profit report details, project totals. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my main report here, and I'm going to change my sub-report to use this new detail. Okay? So I'm going to go click on the sub-report here, and I'm going to go to report source, and I'm going to click the little button with 3 dots on it, and I'm going to change this name to this name. So I'm going to take out grouped and totaled, and I'm going to do project totals. Remember that since it's the same report, it's got the same parameters, we don't have to do anything else to change that name like that. Okay, and make sure it matches this. Click OK. We're going to save this, and we're going to close it. We're not changing anything else on this main report, just what details it's going to use. Okay, now, so we've got corporate division as a group. We've got salesperson as a group. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to add a job number group. So over here on the right-hand side, you'll see that there's a Data Explorer. Okay, and that's the default when you're in here. It's got all the fields and what they are, the names, they're in alphabetical order there. But then you go over to the Report Explorer, and that's got all of your boxes here. Okay, if you go up to the very top, there's the main part of the report. This is the main report, and this is where you want to add groups. Okay, so we're going to right-click on it, and we reuse a lot of stuff, just like I'm showing you how to do here. So a lot of these are called line item quote, even though it's not. So you can right-click here on the main part of the report, the very top level, and we're going to go down to groups. Okay? Don't do the add new group because it'll get a little confusing there. We're going to go to groups and we're going to add it in this resulting window. So groups, and you'll see we have our two groups here, the Corp Div group and the salesperson group. Okay, but we're going to add another group. And that group is going to be the job number. Okay, so we're going to just name the job number so it doesn't get confusing for us. We're just going to call it job number group. Okay, and you'll see in here we have groupings. Okay, so this grouping thing under data, we're going to click the button with 3 dots on it, and it says edit grouping in the window. We're going to do a new grouping, and that'll give us a little drop down, and we're going to choose job number out of here. So equals field dot job number. So we could group by any field in here, anything we want to do. Okay, just by choosing what field we want to group by. So we're going to do job number here. Okay, and we're going to click OK. So now we have in groupings, we have field dot job number. We're not going to do anything else in here. Okay, we're just going to click OK. So now we've got job number group, and we click OK there. It's going to add another section here that's blank. So now I have 3 group headers and 3 group footers. Okay? So I don't really care about the header because I want it to use my salesperson header. Okay? So I'm going to use the little arrow thing here, and I'm going to bring this up so it shrinks it down so that I don't even see that. Okay? I can also, while it's highlighted here, I can go over to the properties section over here, and I can tell it visible equals false. Okay? So you can hide any section that you want to hide there. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this job number field, okay, because I'm going to group it by the job number. I want to paste it into my job number footer section and then drag it over. And what's nice about Telerik is you see how it's getting the red lines so that you know when it's lined up perfectly. One thing about Crystal Reports, you had to actually type in the numbers of where you wanted it. So this is super nice. Okay, and then you can use your arrow key just to move it down a little. Okay, so we're going to have job number. We don't actually care about this project/order name because we're going to group it. So we don't want the order name in here. Okay, so in this one, we can actually hide this field. So we're going to click on this project order name, and we're going to hide it. So we're going to do visible equals false over in the properties. Okay? Now, we're going to take all of these fields. Okay? We're using the control key to highlight all these. And actually, we're going to take these that are already in salesperson. So we're going to highlight all of these fields using our control key. And we're going to right-click, and we're going to copy. Okay? And then we're going to right-click in this section here, our job number section, and we're going to paste. And then we're going to move them over so they line up perfectly there.
Philip?
Yep.
I just want to make one comment to everybody. The reason Philip's hiding fields instead of deleting them, it's so much easier to undo a mistake, to simply unhide. And if you just hide it, then you can have it to work with later on in case you make another report from this report the field's still available, rather than have to re-add it. So I suggest everybody to hide instead of delete anything, practically.
Right. And Mark has plenty of it. Go ahead.
Well, Philip, just follow. That was kind of my question, because to me it seems like it'd be easier just to delete that, and then your report's done.
You could. It's not a problem. See, it's not like Crystal Reports where if you delete something, you're going to break something. This is so much easier and nicer than Crystal Reports. I could delete them. I can just do that. Gone. Okay. But the thing is, I mean, it's just not a big deal at all. You can do whatever you want in it. Okay. And because you're working from a base report, right? Okay. And actually, we're working from an alternative of a base report, right? So you can go back to your other report and then say that again. I mean, but in Mark, it was a lot more complicated in Crystal reports than it is. You're going to find this is a lot easier. Okay, so I've got my section here. Okay, I'm just going to stretch this up so it doesn't take up so much space, because whatever space you leave here is what it's going to take up in the report. Now remember, exec with the group name tells it how to total. Okay, so I'm going to right-click on each one of these and go to expression. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the group it's using. Okay, and this was job number group. And in fact, I'm just going to highlight that and copy it so I can keep using it over and over again. So I'm going to highlight that, copy. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to move to the next field, expression. I'm going to replace salesperson group with job number group. Click OK. Right-click, expression. I'm going to do job number group. OK. And I'm going to do this for each of these things here, because now I'm grouping this section by the job number. And you guys, I really want to stress this. If you're looking to do this kind of thing, call in for support. Once we're done with this training and you're just not sure how it does take some time, it does take some practice, but that's what we're here for. We're here to help you do this, and we want you to do this. We want you to be able to have reports that you want to have. Okay? So I've got this last one, which is the GP%. Okay? And when I click on this one, this is actually two groups. Okay, so I'm going to replace it in both places. This is the profit divided by the sale. That's how we get our gross profit margin. So I'm going to replace this in both of these places here. Okay, and I'm going to click OK. So now I don't care about the details section here. I don't want this to show. Okay, because now I'm only going to be grouping and summing by the job number here. So I'm actually going to not delete this section, but hide this section. Okay? I could delete all the fields in there, but I'm not going to. You can if you want, but I'm not going to. So on this section, I can also, if I want to look at it differently, I can go to the section itself, and under layout, there's a height. And I can say, I want to be 1 pixel tall. 1 pixel tall is not even visible in here. So you see that now I can see it the way I'm going to see it. Okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm basically done. That's all there is to that. Okay? So I'm going to go and add this in as an alternative to my profit report. Not my profit report grouped and totaled, but my profit report. This is going to be another alternative that I can run. So I'm going to go back to eManage, and I'm going to go to Tools. First thing I'm going to do is put it into my custom reports, okay, so that other people can have it since it only exists on my computer. So I'm going to browse, and I'm going to do both of these reports, okay, one at a time, just because that's the way it works. And we're going to do, this is totaled by job. Okay, and I'm going to add it. And then I'm going to browse through my details. Okay, my profit report details, project totals. And it's also totaled by job. I'm just going to click Add. Once I've added them in there, then I can add them as an alternative for people to use. So custom reports, configure Telerik report alternatives. My original report is the profit report, not anything else. Profit report. My new report is the profit report project total. Yes, this one. Okay, don't use the details one. And then again, you could make it default if you wanted to, and you'll want to give it a description so that when the people choose the alternative, they can see what you did with the support. So this is subtotaled and grouped by job number.
Philip,
Okay.
if,
Yep.
if you make more than one as a default, how does it know which one to use?
You can't. When you make this report the default, then it'll undo the other.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
it undoes any other defaults that you already had set.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Thank
only
you.
one default. Now, each individual user can set their own default, right? So that it doesn't even ask them, or that they do that. But this is you as an administrator deciding that's what you want to be the default for everybody.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So now when I go to report and I run my profit report, okay, and I choose my dates. Okay, my default is still this one because I didn't change that default. But I'm going to go ahead and drop this down, and you'll see here, I can see with the description what these things are. Okay, so I want the subtotal and group by job number. I don't think I had any duplicates, so mine's probably going to look pretty much the same. So I'm going to hit continue, and there. Now I don't have my order, I don't have my project name. Okay, I've got my totals there by job. Was that Paula that was asking about this?
Yes.
Okay. So did you actually do this while we're?
No, but I'm
Were you
going to try it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, you're going to call in. We can help you do this. I mean, you see, like I said, if I wasn't doing training, I could have done this in a minute and a half and been done. Right? It's really, really. It's actually not that hard. It just takes some practice. And that's what we're here for, is to help you do that. Okay? Any questions about that? Okay. Just remember that if you want to group things and have them sum up together, you're going to want to make a group and maybe hide the details section so that you only see the group totals of those things. That's what we did here. Okay? Okay. Let's see what we're going to do next. So one of the new things that we added in here is that you can add in your own parameters. Okay, so I'm going to go through that really quickly with an existing report, and I'm going to go ahead and open the line item quote. Okay, so in the line item quote, the main section here, I'm going to add a parameter, a manual parameter. Okay, that's not going to come from the database and it's not going to use the database. That for some extra text that I want to show in a quote. Okay, so over here on the Report Explorer, you see that there's parameters. Now, a parameter is just a supplied information. This will come from eManage. Okay. So I'm going to right-click on the parameters here, and I'm going to add a parameter. Okay, so the report parameter editor lets me add a brand new parameter and tell it what it's going to be. So this is going to be some extra text. That's what I'm going to name it. You can name it anything you want to. You have to remember this name because we're going to program it into eManage as something that they have to supply when they run this report. Okay, so I'm calling it some extra text. It's a type of string. So if you drop this, you'll see that you can do Boolean, which is a checkbox, date time, integer, or string. Okay, and I'm just going to leave it string because it's some extra text. I'm going to go ahead and click OK on that, and I'm going to save this as an alternative. So I'm going to call this line item quote with some extra text. Okay. Just remember, your parameters can be anything you want them to be. So once we do this and you see how it works, don't hesitate. If you have an idea to use maybe percentages that you want somebody to supply on the way in, don't hesitate to call and ask. Okay, because we can help you do that. So line item quote with some extra text. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And now I'm going to go back to eManage, and I'm going to make an alternative to our quote. Okay, so I'm going to go to Tool, Custom Reports. I'm going to add it first so everybody has it. browse. I'm going to go to my line item quote with some extra text. You guys notice I didn't change the subreport. Okay, since I wasn't making changes to the subreport details, I didn't need to change that. I'm going to continue using the one that was already there. So line item quote with some extra text. Okay, and this is going to be extra parameter to be supplied by user. Okay, and I'm going to add that. And now I'm going to make it an alternative to my line item quote. Configure Telerik Report Alternatives. And I'm going to do line item quote. Okay, and that's just our regular old line item quote here. And our new report is our line item quote with some extra text. Okay, and this is going to be, you must supply extra text with this. Okay, and actually I missed a step, so I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. I'm going to go back to my custom reports and add remove custom reports, because actually we have to add in that parameter. So we're going to go back here, and we're going to go to that one we uploaded. So this is my line item quote with some extra text. And you see down here, when I click on this, I'm actually going to have a button that says Set Custom Parameters. So I'm going to click that button while this is highlighted, and it's going to let me put in parameters. Okay, so the parameter I used in there was a string. It was text. Okay, and the name of that parameter was called some extra text, wasn't it? Okay. Okay, now you can tell it what you want the user to see with the box. Okay, so please enter some extra text here to have it show up in the report header. Okay, you can also choose to use a drop-down list from eManage. So if you wanted to have salesperson, you want them to choose a salesperson as a report parameter, you could tell it, use the drop-down list of salespeople in here, and then it would show them the drop-down list with the salespeople, and they would choose one. Okay, you don't have to use one, but you can use a drop-down list of that. And we add the parameter. Okay, you can add, if you had more than one parameter in your report that you added, you can add as many parameters as you want here. Okay, so that's done. Close, close, and now I'm going to run a quote report. And I'm going to make sure it's a line item. Okay, these are all line items. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this big one here. Okay, and I'm going to print a quote. And it's asking me about an alternative. And you see I have many, many report alternatives in here. So obviously, if you guys want to make alternatives to our reports for the quote, we'll help you do that. And you can have as many as you need to cover your business. So, and this is where Stefan did a bunch of his. So here's my line item quote with some extra text. I'm going to choose that, and I'm going to continue. Okay, you see that because I told it there was a parameter that you need to supply to run this one, it brought up the prompt of what it wants me to do, and it gave me a box to type it. Okay, and you hit continue. It'll run that report. Where's my header? Oh, I actually didn't put that in there. Let me go and put this in here real quick. Okay, so when you put a parameter in there and you want to use it, come on, give me it. And you want to use it, you're going to have to tell it where to go. Okay, so I'm just going to take this. Remember, it's easier to copy something that's already there and change what it's looking at. So I'm going to right-click. After I copied and pasted that, I'm going to go to Expression, and I'm going to tell it now to use my new report parameter, some extra text, use the value of it. Okay, click OK. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to go ahead and run that report again. Print quote, line quote with some extra text, continue. And continue. And you'll see there's where my parameter value is showing up. Okay. There's lots of really cool stuff you can do with it. This is just a very, very basic example of what you can do. Okay, and we'll see more in the when we build a report from nothing, which is what we're going to do next. Okay.
Philip,
just
to be clear, if you don't modify your invoice report with the same thing, that will not show up on the invoice to the customer, correct? Like if you had extra text on a quote?
Yes, that's correct. This doesn't save. This doesn't actually save anywhere. This is a parameter that you use one time while you're doing this.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So one of the things that we were, Stefan and I were talking about earlier was one of the uses for this could be if you guys, let me just pull up one of these other reports that we did for somebody. I think it's forward tilt. Okay, so you see in this report, we actually did like a header page for them, and that header page has deposit, progress, and final. Okay, and the problem with the way this report is done is if I right-click and I go to expression, this you would never be able to do. Okay, this would be really tough. You'd have to really be super genius smart to be able to do this. And you don't actually have to be. Okay? What we were talking about with the parameters was being able to add parameters, right? So right-click here, add parameter, and call this deposit %. Okay? And the type is an integer. Okay? Add another parameter called progress %. And it's an integer. And add another one for final. %. And it's an integer. If you do this, then you could say, instead of all this madness that you could never even read, right? This is actually going to be now very simple. This is now going to be now your deposit divided by 100. Okay, so now this becomes my order total plus tax times my whatever I supply for my deposit % as a parameter divided by 100. Right? So instead of looking at all that stuff and trying to figure out what the heck we did there, or spending an hour, and believe me, that took me an hour to figure out how to do that. So if it took me an hour, it's probably going to take people a lot more than an hour. Instead of doing that, I can now just take my parameters and I can say, this is going to be now the sum of that times my parameter of progress divided by 100. Okay, you see how much simpler that is to create parameters like that. You're printing a report, you're printing the quote right for the quote thing, so you know what the terms are. If it's a 50, 10, 40, right, then you're going to know when you ask you for the parameters, oh, it's going to be 50, 10, 40. Okay, and you can pop those in right there. This becomes a lot easier to work with than trying to customize to handle all of your different terms that may or may not be uniform. Look at this one. This one's even worse. Final, due upon receipt. I mean, I don't know about you, but I wrote this, and I don't know. I can't read it. It's insane because it's trying to anticipate every single term. So if you change your terms, you've got to write a whole other section in here to handle that new set of terms. So the easiest thing to do is, is to do this and do your percentage, right? This is going to be times by final percent divided by 100. Parameter values, this will be my final percent divided by 100. Okay? That becomes a lot simpler to work with, and that's where parameters can become a lot more powerful for you. Okay? So now, if we add this in as an alternative to the quote report, okay, and I think I already have that. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go to my custom reports because this is where I add in my parameters. And let's see, do I have that in there? Forward tilt. No. So I'm going to go ahead and add it in. Okay, and this is with deposit values. And I'm going to add that. And I'm going to go down and click on it. And I'm going to set my custom parameters. So I'm going to have my integer data type, or number, and it's going to be called deposit percent. Exactly the way I have it in the report. And this is supply the percent of deposit required. Okay? Add parameter. I'm going to then, the same thing, number. This is progress. That's what I called it. Progress, yep, progress percent. And this is the progress payment. And I'm going to add, and then I'm going to do my final. And it's going to be the same thing here, and this is going to be the final. And add parameter, okay? So now I'm going to add that in as a alternative. And I might already have this here. No, okay. So this is going to be line item quote. And this is going to be my forward tilt with vendor. And this is going to have percentages for deposit, etc. Okay. So now when I go and run this, I'm going to choose my forward tilt and continue. And it's actually going to now add in all three. Now, shouldn't have to do one at a time. Let's see here. Add remove. Okay, well this is brand new. Went in yesterday. We're going to check that out. It should ask you for 3 parameters all at once. And it will. Try that again. You guys see how that, by doing this though, you can have it pull up all these different values for you, and then fill out your percentages there. So let's say this is a 50%. I'm missing those there too. So I will figure out what that is, and we will fix that and get that out. But anyway, adding multiple parameters, using them in the report isn't just about text or things like that. You can actually physically use them in there to base other values off of. Okay, so, yep.
Hey, Philip. like when you end up with that work and you do your progress and your final, does that come through on the, like your accounts receivable listing at all, or is that strictly a report for the customer?
It's just a report for the customer. It's just the quote.
Okay, so it's
but remember that your terms are set on the quote anyway. What I was saying is that your terms are going to be here anyway, 50, 10, 40, right? So that's are going to be part of your terms. You're just making it easier to do those kind of calculations rather than trying to anticipate every single terms you could have and trying to break them down, because you saw how complicated that was. That was not easy. I mean, trying to anticipate all those different things there.
Yeah, so what that was is that's a summary page that we created on the proposal. So rather than just doing a quote, we want to create a full proposal. So there was a cover, and then there was a little bit of information about the company, a cover letter, and then there was a summary page that just kind of summed everything up. But on the quote, the terms are still on the quote as normal. So that does carry over.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Phil, can you run that? Do you have the report in there, that my report?
I may. Let me see. SC proposal, right?
Yeah. Oh, no, it doesn't have the parameters, yeah. Okay.
All right.
So what it does is on the parameters.
Oh, yeah, I think I have it here. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So you see that this is the report that Stefan made.
Okay.
Okay, so it's got all this stuff. It's got a header page, corporate overview. That's got the summary page that has the different breakdown.
Yeah, so right there, that breakdown, that's your, if the terms were, 20, 70, and then 10 for final, it would take that, 20%, 70%, and then 10.
Gotcha.
So if it was just 0, this is upon receipt, so it's 0. There's no deposit or no progress. If there was a 50 and then 50 on final, then there would only be a 50 on deposit and then a 50 the balance on final.
Right, and you guys, I want to point out that this is Telerik. This is that new reporting, and this is actually what Stefan would use as his quotation. So if we look at this report inside of Telerik, okay, that was SC proposal, right? If we look at this, actually I'm missing with the market, but you'll see here that this actually is how much you can do with Telerik, okay, with this reporting thing. And again, we can help you through this stuff. You really do have to, figure out what you want to do to design it yourself, and have a picture in your head of what you want. But I mean, this is pretty cool. You can have anything you want, and these reports are actually in your image directory for you to modify and play around with. So you have this already, and you can put it into, or you can bring this up and change some of the stuff around, and it can be yours. Okay. So I want to do one last thing, and that's I want to create a brand new report from scratch, and I want to show you how to add in a custom report into eManage so that you can then run it. That doesn't have anything to do with the project, is not an alternative to anything. You're just going to add it in and use it. So what I plan on doing is using an item from my today and building a printable report out of it. So I'm going to pick my POs not fully acknowledged. Okay? So I'm going to run this grid, and then I'm going to look and see what query it is using in here to grab this data, and then I'm going to use that as my data for my report. Okay, so I'm going to go here, and in every grid, and if you guys notice that you don't see what I'm talking about in any of the grids, let us know and we'll fix it. But if you go to grid function, and you go to view results as SQL, we're pretty open about where stuff comes from, right? When you do the analysis and go to create run analysis query, you can see what we're using to build that query. It actually builds it in front of your face, so you know if you want to use it somewhere else to do something custom, you'll know how to get there. So in this one, view results as SQL, I'm going to actually highlight this, and I'm going to copy it, okay? Because I want to use it as the source for my custom report. So remember that what you want to do is you want to use a report that has a structure that you already that you want to use. So I want to use something that's a landscape report that's already set up. Okay, so I'm going to use my profit report. Okay, and I'm going to open up my profit report details as well. Okay, because that's the one I'm going to use as a template. So I'm going to change my profit report by saving as, and I'm going to save it as my POs not fully acknowledged. Okay, I'm going to save that, and I'm going to call this file save as, and I'm going to save this as my POs not fully acknowledged details. Okay. Now, remember on my main report, I am going to make some changes here. I'm actually going to call it POs not fully acknowledged. So all I do is double click in there and I start typing. Okay, and if I need to stretch it out because it doesn't fit, real simple, stretched out. Okay. And in this report, I'm actually not going to need date 1 and date 2 as parameters, so I'm just going to delete those parameters. I do need the user ID, so I'm going to leave that one there. And we're going to get rid of that. Okay, so now I just have my company name, my logo, POs not fully acknowledged. Okay, and I have a subreport. And I'm going to change the subreport to my new name of my report, which is POs not fully acknowledged details. So this is, you guys, I really just want you to see the capabilities. I mean, if you are somebody who can build these reports, it's awesome. But if you're not, I just want you to know that you can do this. And if you decide to learn this, you can make any report that you want to make, period. So this is POs not fully acknowledged details. Okay, and I'm going to go here to edit parameters just because I want to make sure that I don't use anything extra. So this has the parameters that I had before, so I'm just going to delete. Okay, and I'm going to save that, and I'm going to close it. And now we're just going to be working with the details. Okay, so in here, down here we've got our data source. This is where it's going to pull the data from. Okay, since this report was built with the marketplace connection string, I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to change my select query, my select command right here. Now I copied the query out of that text box, so I'm going to paste it in here. Okay, and since this has user ID in it, instead of where it says user ID 38, I'm going to put an @user ID. Tells the database I'm going to pass it a number, not to use a hard-coded number. If it's 38, that's my user ID. Okay? But I want to be able to, anybody who runs this report, be able to see the things that they can't see. So that's all I'm going to change there. Select star, POs with balance. I just copied and pasted. I'm changing the user ID that was an actual number to @user ID. I hit next. Okay, it's got my @user here. My value is going to be my parameter user ID. Okay, and I don't have to worry about this. This is design time. I don't really care about that. I'm going to finish. Okay, so you'll notice over here now in my Data Explorer part, I have a lot of fields that are different. Okay, so I don't have these fields anymore. So I can actually get rid of some of this stuff. So I'm going to get rid of, I'm going to go to groups, and I'm going to say, I don't have a corp div group, but I might want to group it by vendor. Okay? So instead of this being corp div group, I'm going to call it vendor group. And I'm going to go to grouping. I'm going to click the little button with 3 dots on it. And instead of corporate division, this is going to be my vendor. Okay? So I basically changed that grouping to vendors just like that. Okay? And I'm going to go ahead and delete my salesperson group because I don't have that. Okay, so I'm just going to have a vendor group. Okay, since that top group is a vendor group, I don't want it to be corporate division here. I'm going to right-click on this column, or this field, and I'm going to go to expression. I'm going to go to field, and this is now going to be the vendor. Okay, so that's my grouping now, grouped by vendor. Now I'm going to put in a header here. Stretch this out a little. Okay, because I'm going to want some columns here. Okay, so it's easier, like I said, to take things you already have, copy and paste them instead of inserting new things. So my first column header here, I want to be, let's see what my choices are. I want my PO number. Okay, so I'm going to right-click this. Oh, actually, this is my column header, so I'm just going to type in PO number. Okay, this down here is going to become the field PO number. So I'm going to right-click, expression, and this is going to be my assigned PO number. Okay, and I can start getting rid of stuff here because actually we're not going to use those. Okay, I'm just going to keep reusing these as my column headers and my boxes that I'm going to use. So let's see what else we would need here. Maybe customer. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to move it where I want it. Okay, and you can see that little that pink line means I've lined up vertically, okay, to that, and this is going to be vendor or customer. And I'm going to stretch it out a little so I have enough space. I'm going to copy this header so it's the same size, and I'm going to paste it down in my details section. Okay, I'm going to make sure these line up pink, and I'm going to right-click on this, expression, and I'm going to go to fields, customer. I know I'm moving really fast now, but again, this is pretty advanced. I just want to get this done so I can show you the custom part of this, how to add it into eManage. Okay, and we've got our the order name. So if we want order name here, I'm just going to copy that, paste it, drag it where I want it. And since I did that, I'm going to copy it and paste it, line it up. And I'm going to right-click, expression, and put in my order name. Okay, and let's see here. What else we want? How about the date process and requested ship? Okay, so now when I do these are going to be smaller fields. So I'm going to just grab my PO number, copy it, and paste it. And I'm going to line them up, and I'm going to change the text to it. So let's do requested ship. And I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to paste it here so it's the same size. Make sure they line up. And I'm going to right-click. I'm going to go to expression. Now, when you're working with a date in here, okay, so my requested ship actually has a bunch of different components to it if it quotes a plus next to it. Okay, so I'm going to say this equals the day, I'm sorry, the month. I'm going to do the month, plus a slash, plus the day, plus slash the year. Okay, so to make sure I don't get date and time, because everything to a computer, when you do a date, is also a time. Okay, so you want to make sure and do this so you don't end up with that. So that's your requested ship, and let's see what else we have here. How about the note? So I'm going to grab this. I'm just going to do a really quick thing here so that you guys can see it in action. Okay, I'm just going to stretch that out to the end. I'm going to change this to PO internal note, and I'm going to copy that and paste it down. And that's going to be my PO internal note for my field. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this whole section down here because I don't need it. And I'm going to bring it up like that. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add this in as a custom report into eMessage. Okay, so when you're going into this custom reports and you're going to add and remove custom reports, okay, you're going to browse to it. And we're going to do both of these, but we're going to do the details first. And this is, we don't need a description there. When we do the main report, okay, we're also going to add it to the custom reports window. Okay, and we're going to give it a category. I think I have test category in here, but this builds kind of like the manufacturer does on the parts, where you can put in whatever you want, and it'll build as you start putting different report categories in. So let's call this today items. Okay, and my friendly name is going to be POs not fully acknowledged. Okay, now you can assign this to an application right. So if you only want certain people to be able to run this report, assign it to a right. And I don't know if everybody knows this, but you can actually make your own custom application right. So if I wanted to make a specific right that says, can run POs not fully acknowledged report, I can make that right, assign it to the people I want, and use that here. So only the people I assign that right to can see this report. Okay? You see it says include user ID as a report parameter. That had user ID in it. That was the main thing. So we're going to do that, and we're going to add. Now, if there were any other parameters other than user ID in that report, I would want to go here, and I would want to set custom report parameters and add any of the other parameters that I would need for that report. Okay? But there aren't any, so I'm not going to do that. Okay? So now, on the reports menu, there's a new thing here you guys just got today. It says run a custom report. Okay? When you go there, you're going to have all of your custom reports that you've defined here. Okay? So there's POs not fully acknowledged. Okay, when I click on that, if I have any parameters, and let me just show you one of these other things here.
So if you don't set certain rights, are they public for everyone to see?
Yes. If you don't set an application right at all, then everybody gets to run.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So if you click on, see this one has multiple criteria or multiple parameters. Unless you fill out all the parameters, it's not going to print the report. Okay. And you see this is a date. So it's giving you a date box. This is a Boolean, which is a checkbox. Okay. This is a number, so it gives you a number box. This is this one I defined as a salesperson drop-down list, and so it's giving me a drop-down list. This one I didn't have any of that, so I can just print a report. And there you go. That's pretty darn cool.
Wow. That's super cool.
Awesome.
Any report that you guys can think to do and are capable of doing can be done. I mean, you got to remember that every single place that we build stuff, we show you what query we're using. You saw that all I did was copy and paste. I copied and pasted the view results as SQL and replaced the 38 with @user ID for the criteria. Okay. You could do that with any of the today items. Any of these you can make printed reports out of whenever you want to. Right? I can do POs to be issued to vendor. I can do hot jobs. I can do current opportunities if I want and make a printed report out of it just by looking at what's already there, okay, and using that query as the source for my custom report. Okay, so you see this says, see how this has number 38? That's where I would put my @user ID. Okay. So, well, we did it in an hour and a half. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question. Can you put graphs or anything like that in the report?
Yeah, actually, I've already done some, and I don't know if you guys actually have looked in the reports menu, but I actually made a dashboard report here. So you see that I actually made one ahead of time here, and you guys have this right now. So it's based on who you logged in as. It'll give you some of this data here. Let me just open up that report so you guys can see it. I'm going to go open dashboard. There it is, dashboard.trdx. And you see, okay, I just made, in the details section, you're going to go click in the details section. Let me just go add another one here really quick. Let's stretch this section out. Yeah, this thing is really, really flexible. This kind of stuff you're going to need to know a little more about the database. But if I wanted to do a insert, and here's all your different chart types. Okay, so if I wanted to do a pie chart, okay, and I'm going to add a new data source, and I'm going to do a SQL, and I'm going to call this my user activity. Okay, and I'm going to choose my marketplace data connection. Okay, and I'm going to do a select. Just look at this really quick, see what I want to use here. Okay, so I want record. Select. See if you guys know how to do SQL. You can do anything you want. Okay, so this is going to ask me for a user ID. It's going to be an integer. And we're going to do a report parameter that's already there. User ID 38 for the design time so we can see it happen. Okay, so now I'm going to do my user activity. Next. So this is really, really simple. My series is going to be record type, and my values are going to be this because I didn't give it a name. Okay, so this, scroll this down, made a new graph for me detailing what percent my record types were. See the right title in there? Record type sure was. Maybe I'd want to do that with a date range. Do that with that. Okay. Where? 10/1/2014 and 11/30/2014. Okay. Well, yes, you can do graphs, and like I said, we can help you do some of this stuff. But you see, you can basically do anything that you want to do through reports. And again, this we built in, but you can make a brand new report from nothing, okay, and build your own reports like these, add them in as custom reports, and anybody that you say can run them can run them. Okay, so listen, it's limitless, and we want you guys to have all the reports that you guys want to have. So if you guys think of reports and you're not sure where to start, you call in, we help you out. We tell you, we can get you the tables to use, the views to use, how to get to them, how to start setting these things up. Okay, we have about, like I said, 56 reports left to convert from Crystal. As soon as we do that, we are going to be eliminating Crystal reports. Okay, so that it's not a 75 megabyte download with the setup program. This report designer is included with eManage, and it's not an extra setup program. So it's set up with eManage. Okay. Any other questions? Anybody?
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it can be cool. It can be cool if you learn how to use it, or if you have an idea for a report, then it's unlimited. There's nothing that you can't run with it. So
yeah, it's
anybody
perfect.
else?
No, thank you guys. I'm going to jump off.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Philip.
All right, no problem. Upload this recording onto YouTube so you guys can watch it. Again, if you want to change our reports and make alternatives, we're good with that, and we want to help you. Use support. All right, thanks, you guys.